to be away from the thing. God, it won't stop till I let it all in. Want to be away from the thing. God, it won't stop till I let it all in. Want to be away from the thing. God, it won't stop till I let it all in. To be away from the thing. God, it won't stop till I let it all in. She told me as I woke from walking alone at night. She said,
hello everyone, and welcome back. After the last month and the episode last week, I've been really dedicating time to myself, to digging in and finding my flow again. And, in that, I have felt like I don't know what to share. I don't know where... I know this is so funny because I said, I think last week, I'm going to share the process. So after grounding, after doing the work, I realized that, I'm going to share what I did to get there. So this episode is going to be kind of like the tools that I have been using just in this past week to help me find my flow again. So I hope that you're excited. You may want to take a lot of notes. There's going to be a lot of notes in the show notes, so don't worry. All the links will be there. But I wanted you guys to have a place to always be able to check back in, to go through the list that I've been using to find that space again. Because I know what the center feels like. I just have to find the foundation again to get back there. So I hope you enjoy this. So the first thing that I did is I found a piece of my land that was, I told you guys, winking at me when we first saw this property. And it's not manicured in any way, so I had to bring a blanket, and there's tons of foxtails, and it's a kind of, very rugged. But I knew that I needed to create an earth altar. So I had talked about in a previous episode that I did some crystal mining. So I had this huge bucket of all of these crystals, and most of them are quartz and tourmaline. There's some lepidolite, there's some just regular quartz. And I got a huge bag of them, and I trucked down there, and I sat with nature, with the land, and I created an earth altar. And if you guys don't yet know what an earth altar is, I did an episode on it. It's number 37, and it's called Active Earth Altar. So you can go back and reference that. But before you can create this altar, you have to open up space with a sacred prayer. And again, if you have not created your own sacred prayer, I did 3 episodes to help you get there. The first one is episode 78, which is called Spirit Animals, and how to pull in and find those spirit animals that are here to assist you. Then episode 79 is all the sacred sites, the apus, that are here to assist you in this evolution of your incarnation. And then finally, episode 80 is called Creating an Opening Prayer. And the reason you need all 3 of these episodes is that it takes all of these pieces to pull together your sacred prayer. So as I sat there and opened up sacred space with the land, I then created an earth altar, which always intuitively for me has been first starting with the directions and holding those as my anchors. And then I create a circle in stones around the directions, and then I connect it all. And then I hold energy over it as I'm calling in the space. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to insert a clip of that day that I did that. Essentially what you're doing is you're pulling in and asking for help from the universe, from your spirit animals, from the apus, from source, to concentrate the energy in this sacred space that you're creating. And I used to do this when I would go to the cliffs here in San Diego. And of course, because that was a public place, people would, over time, sometimes they would leave the stones alone, but sometimes they would push them off the cliff or whatever. When I would come back the next day, they would be gone, and I would always have more stones with me. I personally feel having them as crystals helps to amplify the energy, but all of the crystals I use are rough. They're not polished. They're actual stones from the earth that I cultivated and have my energy with them. So basically, by doing this, you're opening up, I feel, a portal of energy to come through. Now, I have asked in a past Akashic Records reading, I asked if I created a portal at the cliffs, and that reader said she wasn't sure if it was an actual portal, but basically you're calling in your energy to that space. So that's why it's so important. Whenever you feel like you're not in flow, it's like finding that anchored energy with the help of all of these assistants to pull you back. So that's the first step. Then, as I mentioned last week, I started dancing, and it's kind of funny, but in this small town that I live in, there's a studio that's jazzercise, and I would laugh about it as I drove by it, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to check it out. And it's been the funnest thing ever. It's kind of like Zumba. It's like all different types of dancing. But it's fun. It feels like, because this is a small community, I've met some of the women in this area, and it feels like a place to kind of just let your hair down. There's no mirrors in the studio, and you just like dance and go crazy. So I've really enjoyed that kind of grounding into the body. And then I also have been really tuning into Enya. And I know, like, Enya is probably the first spiritual vibration that I attuned to when I was a child. And I have a playlist, which I'm gonna also link below, but I have this list of all the songs that help me to either connect to spirit or ground, or that pull me into that vibration of going inward. And Enya is like, she just has this angelic vibration that even as a child I resonated with. So it's funny because this week, as I was listening to the Spotify playlist, she came up and I was like, oh, I'm going to just listen to her. So then I searched just her and I just played her all day long. And that vibration starts to bring you out of the chaos of the world and into the flow of, I would say, nature and purity. So I've really been tuning into her. And then I also have been doing grounding in the ocean. So I still live close to the ocean, even though we moved east. I live about a half an hour from the ocean now. So I brought the dogs to the beach this week, and I always wear flip-flops so that I can take them off and be in the sand with the dogs and the water. And there's something about the water, and I always have felt this, that calls me home to my body. I don't have a lot of water in my astrology chart, but my sun is conjunct, like right on top of Neptune. And as I've studied astrology or gotten to know myself, there is a nurturing at the ocean that I cannot receive anywhere else. And I think that is part of why I am so emotional. I really enjoy the nurturing that comes from the ocean, and I really feel at one there. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that I have been asked to move further east away from the ocean. So I'm not going to fully rely on her, but I am going to check in with her, and I am going to allow myself the nurturing that I need, because I feel like there is nothing for me that is more grounding. Then the next thing is I have this spray called BaliPura Auric Spray, and it's for grounding. And if you are on the YouTube channel, you're going to see it come up. It's made of clove and vanilla, and it has black tourmaline, smoky quartz, hematite, and clear quartz as it was made. And I came across this right before I went to Bali, and I have I think their whole collection. So this one has always been my favorite, and I pulled it back out of my collection and was like, okay, I need to start pulling this into my aura and really grounding myself into this body. Then, so what all of this is I'm going back through all the tools that I have done before, and I'm just remembering all the things that brought me back to this body before. So the next thing on my journey as I, went into my awakening process was flower essences. And for me, I did an episode about this because I am going to recommend someone. Her name is Lorena Espiga, and she is one of the hosts of the Soul Tribe podcast. They teach Akashic Records readings, and she does a reading and a flower essence at once for you. And that's where I had gotten mine now almost a year and a half ago. But she really helped to introduce me to the flow and the attunement to the vibration of the flowers. And, there's so many modalities that we can, be lit up by. And this is definitely one of them. But I have not gone so deep. Like, I've gotten deep enough where I've created elixirs for my family and friends. So I have a collection. And what I did is I took my pendulum over to my collection and I let it tell me, what do I need now? Because I need support. And what do I need? So what came up as what I needed was wild oat, which is decide your path. Serrato, which is trust your intuition. Aspen, which is feel secure. Beech, which is be more tolerant. Holly, which is heartfelt compassion. And olive, which is the rejuvenation of the life force. And I trust, I know that my pendulum leads me in the right direction. So I have been at night, if I'm sitting here, I make a tea and I put 1 drop of each of these. There's also a way that you can make a bottle of it where you just put, I believe it's 2 drops of each, the rest water and a little bit of brandy to preserve it. And then you take 4 to 8 drops of that a day. So use your intuition, what feels right to you, but understanding that at the basis of, I feel like, of biology, of our DNA, the flowers are here to remind our cells those things that are lacking or those things that are off balance. And so it's funny, I looked up what each of these meant for this episode, but as I pulled them from the collection, I didn't look at any of them. I didn't even know what I picked. I just trusted that these 6 are the ones that I need right now. And I started doing this about 3 days ago, and already I'm feeling more myself. So I have always said, like, yes, you can go to plant medicines, but the first plant medicine on the list should be flowers. Flower essences. So I will link Lorena's website below. She's amazing, and I cannot recommend her enough. She's super heart opening, heart expanding, super nurturing, and will help you get through that first, it feels like that first block or resistance to embodying. So then through all these things, as I was at the beach the other day, I got the download that it's my sacral that needs some movement and some, I would say, attunement and also releasing. So in this part of the process, I knew I have a shamanic sister that I could reach out to do a healing. And this is when you get the hit that you need help and you can't do it all on your own or with these physical tools, sometimes you need the help of someone that can move energy for you. And I would say trust that. So it doesn't have to be me. It can be, you probably watch and listen to a lot of podcasts and feel into that person's vibration, because that is going to be your sign that there's a call, there's a match. And that match, what happens is that healer is able to activate in you, like the flowers do, yourself. So it's not that they're healing you, it's that they're reminding you what you already carry. So I have an appointment set up with her for next week because I need support. And I know that. I'm very cognizant of the process that I'm in, and I am embracing it. I know there's nothing wrong with it. I have talked about this. It's just part of the wheel and part of this whole evolution. So why I know that this happens, is because we need to remember who we are, but we also now, with my third rung around the wheel, I have the tools that will help me get through it in a much smoother process. So then the next thing that happened is, I think it was last night or the night before, as I've talked about before, there's an energy tribe circle, and we have a Telegram portal is what I would call it. And what that is that if you guys join the energy tribe or come to at least a few of the Zoom sessions, you'll get invited to the Telegram portal. And in that portal is a wealth of knowledge, so many people that carry different medicines within them, and a sisterhood. And this sisterhood is full of inspiration and things that you're lit up by, and questions you may be having, or things you're going through. And there's always somebody that is in that same vibrational match to you that is able to bring forth the energy to help you move through what you're moving through. So one of my sisters in that portal asked the question, okay, astrology gurus, I have a question. What is your take on Pluto retrograde in Capricorn in my 7th house? I'm ready to draw this out on my whiteboard and start diving into the shadows. This house needs a deep cleaning. So then one of my beautiful astrology sisters, Aisha, which I'm going to link her website below, does astrology reading. She's a shamanic astrologer. And her take on this question got so perfectly right to the point and helped me look at what's happening in my own chart. And all of these things are signs. Like, you can just read it and say, oh, that's this person's going through. But no, if you open up let's say in this case, the app, and it's there, it's also your medicine. And that's what I love about signs. They're there for you. And it's funny because I reached out to Aisha and she said that's why she didn't reply to her privately. She put this in the group so that it would reactivate someone else's knowing. So Aisha's response is, in short, I look at the major outer planet transits, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, as how the outside world affects me and how I interact with it, as opposed to how am I on the inside and what my inner life looks like, the personal planets. Pluto is the planet of power, depth, intensity, and it intensifies everything it touches, sometimes to an overwhelming degree. Pluto is transiting your 7th house life themes of how you love yourself, how you love others, and how you relate to others. This means you will be experiencing events outside of yourself, i.e., out of your control. That will ask you to go inward and adjust those things within yourself that are being mirrored or triggered. As opposed to diving into shadow work, I would sit in acceptance that Pluto is about to bring you the life experiences, maybe also smacking you in the face with them at this time, and commit yourself to recognizing the patterns and doing the work that is being asked of you. Your self-love and the way you approach loving others is being toppled and shifted during this transit. And the goal is to come out on the other side an even better version of yourself. So I decide, I know Pluto is transiting my 4th house, of which is home and roots, family, self-care, emotions, foundations. Also, my moon is in my 4th house, and the 4th house, the ruling sign is Cancer, and the planet is the moon. So this is a huge house for me. It is the part of me that makes me introverted, a hermit. I'm a creature of comfort. Richard and I have this joke that I am all about cozy casual, and that's my style. I need to be cozy is number one because I'm always cold, and casual. And this is me to a T. So the fact that this moving houses happened during this transit is perfect because it's uprooting yourself and moving into a different energy. But also that now that it's in retrograde, I'm going back over the degrees that we just went through, which was moving. And now I'm being asked to ground, to make this space, this place, my home, my roots, my family, self-care, emotions, and foundations. So I am, as I read her response to our other sister, I realized like, yeah, this is exactly what's happening. And the fact that my moon is so tied to this 4th house as well, it's like an extra layer of depth of how important grounding is to me. And that I cannot share, like I said, my upper chakras until I pull it down into my body, which I think even having this movement of locations happen prior to taking that break, I was fine giving off the information from my higher chakras. I didn't feel like there was a miss, something amiss, like I wasn't pulling it through. And it was only by moving and realizing, hold up, I'm not grounded here, and therefore I don't know what I'm doing, to realize that I was disconnected from the information that I'm sharing, right? I wasn't embodying the information that's coming through. So yes, astrology can be a huge point. Look at your chart, like start to investigate where the planets are and what's happening, what's coming up for you. In the case of our other sister, she had relationship things coming up, and no wonder, so astrology is another tool that can help you navigate what's going on. So then the next thing were, I always say signs, like what are the signs that are being put in front of you? Yesterday, Aubrey Marcus put out a new podcast, which I don't subscribe to him, but in my YouTube feed, he comes up when he does an interview with Mateus, because obviously I do and am really interested in Mateus DeStefano. But this one was called Magic, Miracles, and Extraterrestrials with Mateus DeStefano. And it's a beautiful episode, and I will link it below because everybody should listen to it. However, the thing that stood out to me is that Mateus goes very deeply in the beginning about how, as a child, he was reminded we are the elements. They're not outside of our body. Like we are, he identifies with water, and he is able to call in the rain. But we each carry a medicine. We each carry our souls are connected to one of the elements, and that is why you feel at home with that element. Now, he talks a lot about embodying the element in every cell of your body to express it, right? And I know I'm also water, and I also know like I am able to express my emotions so clearly and freely here because it's me to the core of who I am. So it's embodying that element that you are, and stopping thinking of yourself as separate. And that was the sign that I really needed. I was really struggling with pulling it all together and speaking it. And that was a sign, that was super helpful for me. Now, another thing that I love to do is I have oracles. And if you can see behind me, I have a lot of them. But my favorite oracle deck as of the last, I would say 3 to 4 months, is the Sacred Revolution Oracle by Lainie Love Dalby. And I don't know how she came into my life. I think it was random because I really don't remember, but she had just done like a Kickstarter of her first edition of this deck. And for some reason, I knew it was going to be a match to me, and I ordered it. And it's gorgeous. Like, it is absolutely gorgeous. And again, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to be sharing a picture of it here. But I decided to pull a card for this episode and for all of us. And what's funny is it ends up being the same card that I pulled for the Energy Tribe Circle a few weeks ago. So obviously this energy is wanting to be heard. And again, I will share this on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to share with you how special this deck is. I'm going to read to you from the book of what the card is that I pulled. So the card is the Architect of the Ancient Future. So the sparkling essence is the Priestess archetype, ancient Egyptian lineage holder, pyramid codes, sacred sites, ancient temples, embodied presence, connecting the profane and the mystical, prophecies, sacred traditions, vibrational sound healing, the service to the sacred feminine, and the mist of Avalon. The shadow aspects are refusal of the call, disavowing ancient wisdom as old, pessimism, unintegrated past life capacities, AI, technology, destruction of sacred sites. And the channeled message is, I am the one who is ancient and all-knowing, a map maker of destiny, a starseed and cosmic gateway, a portal to deeper knowing. I am the one who stands like the lighthouse, shining bright like the fiery burning sun. I see with the eyes of the heart and fierce love in all I do. I am grounded and deeply connected with the Great Mother and her gifts, especially crystals and sacred sites around the globe. I am the core essence of the great oak tree contained in an unassuming seed of an acorn. I am witch, sorcerer, magician, channeling the energy of the stars and the entire cosmos. I hold worlds of wonder within me. I am coming out of my shell, no longer hiding, grounded in ancient and esoteric wisdom. I am a creatrix and divine architect of the world I want to see in love, only love, only love. I am a vortex to access the core essence, connecting through time and space with your past lives, spiritual lineages, and current sacred reality. I hold rarefied frequencies to help transform the world. So that is why this is my favorite oracle deck. And whenever I'm feeling disconnected, this is who I go to. The remembering of why I am here. I know that Lainie Love Dalby just published the second edition of this deck, so it is currently available. It was sold out for pretty much right after I got it, so I'm going to link it below because it's not cheap. It's, I think, $65. It is worth every single penny. So if you are not big into oracle decks, literally this could be just the one that you have. And I love it. So I hope you guys love it as much as I do. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is each of us carries a different recipe, and those things that make you who you are, you have to follow the clues to get back into the flow, right? So I just gave you the list of how I found it again and how I'm working with it again. But each of us is going to be a different mix of everything, like all of these things, like our astrology, the flower essences, how we ground, what our element is. All of the things are going to be so unique to each of us. But in that recipe, it makes up you, and it's just embodying and embracing all of those pieces of yourself to find that centered space again. Also, this week, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, my Instagram account is Gabrielle, Gabrielle.Ginter, Ginter. I created a link tree in my bio that will give you easy access to my website, the YouTube channel, the podcast on all platforms, how to join the Energy Tribe, the Facebook group, and also the Spotify playlist that I created. So it'll be very easy for you to find all the pieces to connect with each other and hold yourself through this process, and understanding that these rituals are all things that when you are in flow will come naturally, and you will then embody them every day. Like I light candles, I light incenses the moment that I step into my office space, because it reminds me of why I'm here. It never feels like work because it's always sacred. And all of these steps are those points that pull you back into that sacred medicine wheel. So I hope that this is as helpful for you as it has been for me. And understanding that it's just a process. There should be no judgment in it. And it's a reminder to use the tools, really, and to embody yourself with the tools. We were not here and put here with nothing to help us. And if you feel the call to work with me, I do human design readings, and I also do energy work. And if you feel that call and there's something that's pulling you in this vicinity, follow it. It's just your soul inviting you into an activation. And as I said, sometimes it takes another energy to activate and remind you what you are. So I hope this is helpful, and we'll see what next week brings.